You know where you love her, Miss Maria Emmerich.
When in Texas, one must wear cowboy boots, right? Well, welcome. I'm so excited to talk to you guys. And you know that keto is great for so many things. My focus today is on oxidative priority and how to lose that body fat in case you're not happy with your current results. And do not kill the messenger. I'm just going to give you the facts going on here. So what I'm going to talk to you about is alcohol, exogenous ketones, protein, carbohydrates, and then fat, and how our bodies use different fuel sources for energy, okay? And I'm going to break those down. Do not kill the messenger. I am from Wisconsin. Any Wisconsinites out there? This is like beer capital of the world, okay? But I do want you to know that the first oxidative priority is alcohol. That is because it is totally toxic to your body. There is no storage site. And so what's going to happen is it's going to burn this first because it's totally toxic in your body. It also stimulates your appetite. It decreases testosterone. And even as females, we want that too to build our healthy muscles, right? But it also increases estrogen. Now, there's 3 different types of estrogen in our body. I'm talking about the toxic estrogen that kind of gives us that belly fat that we don't want. And it is not biologically needed. So if weight loss is your goal, let's just cut that out, okay? It's totally not needed. Number 2 is exogenous ketones. This is priority number 2 in your body. You will burn this next. Okay? There is little to no storage site. It's biologically not needed. I had the great pleasure to have dinner with Dr. Finney. Does anybody know Dr. Finney? Woohoo, right? And I asked him what he thought of it. He's like, wow, that's a really expensive way to make ketones. And if you think about it, higher ketones do not mean higher fat burning. Mine actually are pretty low in the morning because I work out. This morning I worked out. I ran to Barton Springs Pools. If you think about it, you can add a bunch of MCT oil to white rice and read really high ketones. Are you going to burn fat? No. Carbs and fat together equals a lot of weight gain. So this is how the exogenous ketones, number 2. Number three is protein. There's a very limited storage site for protein, but you get this thermic defect of food. Now, you need protein to build healthy muscles. So if you're doing fat fasts or fat bombs and you're not getting your protein goal in, you can't actually build lean mass, all right? It's very expensive to use protein to make glucose, and there's a few pieces of your body that needs glucose for fuel. So you will make some of that from your protein, which is okay. You know, we talk about using different fuels to make glucose for your brain or whatever. A little bit of protein, using that is a good thing. It's essential for lean mass. If you're losing hair, are you getting your protein goal in? Most women are notorious for doing fat bombs or fat fasts, and that's when they come to me and they message me, Maria, I'm losing hair, what's going on? And most of the time they're focusing on percentages, and percentages is a great way to actually fail if weight loss is your goal with ketosis. Carbohydrates is oxidative priority number 4. This has a moderate storage site. And the highest amount of insulin is needed to utilize this. It's not very satiating and causes hunger in excess. What goes up must come down. Your blood sugar comes up. This is why you go to like a Chinese buffet and you eat a lot of white rice, sugary, sauces, that type of stuff. And soon after, you get hungry. Your belly's totally full from that buffet, but a falling blood sugar, even if it's still high, is going to cause that hunger to happen. It's not biologically needed. You can make all the glucose you need from being keto adapted, even from your stored fat. 3 triglycerides are attached to a glycerol molecule. The glycerol molecule releases. 3 glycerol turns into a glucose molecule. And you'll use that for fuel. And a lot of misinformation about, well, you need carbohydrates for a prebiotic fiber. You believe that? You know what I like to do? Eat chicken wings and ribs. All of that connective tissue is a better prebiotic fiber, okay? Collagen is much better for feeding that gut flora. There is no need for carbohydrates. Fat is oxidative priority number 5. Theoretically, there's an unlimited storage site for this. Very small amount of insulin is needed to utilize. Yes, it will raise a little bit. Ask any type 1 diabetic. It's moderately satiating calorie for calorie. If you think about, it is the highest caloric dense food, but it's satiating too. It is essentially needed. If you think about saturated fat, the sheath of your bones are not made up of just any fat, but saturated fat. This is why I think we see a lot of osteopenia, osteoporosis. It's because we're afraid of eating that animal protein. Veganism is huge right now, and we have to show them how to properly, make our bones, and our hormones are made out of cholesterol. Cholesterol makes healthy hormones. Do not fear cholesterol. Vitamins A, D, E, and K, those are needed for cellular health. So why keto can be so helpful for weight loss. So we talked about number 1 is alcohol. If we get rid of that because we don't need it, right? I mean, you can be fun without alcohol. Let's get rid of the exogenous ketones because it's not essential. It does not have to be complicated. Keto does not have to be complicated. So you want to hit your protein goal. That's about 0.8 times your lean mass. And so you're going to build that lean muscle. And then let's get rid of those carbohydrates. I was on the low-carb cruise with my little boys. And at dinner, you can pick from a whole bunch of different sides and things like that. And I asked Kai, I was like, Kai, do you want a Caesar salad? I was going to, skip the croutons. He goes, what do you think? I'm a vegetarian? They are basically carnivores and thriving. When they first came into my life from Ethiopia, if you don't know, they were underweight. Under the growth charts, they were not even on the growth charts. They were just tiny. Kai was 1 year old, and he was just like this tiny little newborn. And if you go and see them today, they are thriving. They're on the 90th percentile. You can grow, you can gain weight without carbohydrates. And then fat, you want to eat that to satiety. If someone tells you that you need to eat 80% fat to be keto, they aren't understanding the whole idea of fat flux or oxidative priority. You want to utilize your body fat for fuel. This is why, long-term fasting, you fast for 3 days, your ketones go through the roof because you're using body fat to make those ketones. You do not need to eat 80% fat to be ketogenic. So the thermic defect of food, this is really important because certain fuel sources have different thermic defective food. So alcohol, thermic defective food is about 15%. So if you consume 100 calories of alcohol, you really only net about 85 calories. Ketones has a thermic defective food of 3%. If you consume 100 calories of that, you get 97 calories. Protein has the highest, that's 25%, so you really only get 75 calories when you eat 100. Carbohydrates, you get 92 from 100 calories. Fat, you get 97 from those 100 calories. Why is this important? Because if you start your day with bulletproof coffee, you get 500 calories of fat, and that's about 485, 500 calories, and you get 485 calories total. Now, I like to chew my food. It tastes better. 500 calories of a sirloin steak, you really only net about 401, plus you're going to build muscle on that. Don't be misinformed that if you have a bulletproof coffee, you are in a fasted state. You are not. It's 500 calories, and it's physics. 372 calories of protein. The effective calories, like I said, is 401. It actually helps build and maintain muscle. Chewing calories essentially changes different hormones in your brain, like ghrelin and leptin. They actually tell you that you're full and satiated. So chewing your calories is really important. There's something called a protein-sparing modified fast. And this is where you hit your protein goal so you can build lean mass. You basically essentially eat 0 carbohydrates. And then the fat that you eat comes from things like ribs or, the chicken. That has enough fat in it to make ketones for you. And it keeps you satiated. So how to go keto? It's simple. It really is. You want to keep your carbohydrates as low as possible. Shoot for 30 grams total or less. I mean, again, we are carnivores. We eat way lower than 20 grams total. If you think about even an egg has carbohydrates. But then you want to hit your protein goal. I want strong muscles, so I make sure to get my, 0.8 times my lean mass. If you have a hard time figuring that out, we have a calculator and that we help you on my website. If you do these two things, you will be in ketosis. You want to eat fat to satiety. I'm not saying no fat, but you don't have to eat 80% fat. Too many times I'm on the phone call with a client, and they're like, well, I didn't get my 80% fat in, so I did a shot of MCT oil. Well, that's not how you're going to lose weight if that's what your goal is. If that's not your goal, that's fine. But if you want to lose weight, you want to utilize your body fat. And if you're using a lot of dietary fat, you won't. Again, fat keeps you satiated. It helps keep hunger at bay. Don't eat fat to reach a percentage or a goal. I'm going over my time, aren't I? Sorry. I'll keep going. And don't forget to drink more water, shoot for about half your body weight in ounces. I always have my own salt in my bag. I actually forgot it this morning, and I was like, shucks. But, you want to make sure that you're getting your salt in. If you think about all of these ketogenic foods, eggs, all of these meats, unless you're drinking the blood of the animal, you're not getting enough salt. And so you want to make sure that you set out about 2.5 teaspoons of salt by your cooking vessel. And if you don't get that in your food, try to add it a little bit to your water. Not so it's salty, but just enough to help with that energy. This will help with that keto flu, going away with that. Again, always ask your doctor if you supplement with potassium, anything like that. Sometimes the medications have that in it. More tips. I love the slow cooker. I totally love it. I actually use it more in the summer than the winter time because in the winter I don't mind cooking. In the summer I'm on my bike, I'm fishing, I'm kayaking, I'm never home. So I turn it on in the morning. I get home from all of those adventures that I do with my kiddos, and ta-da, there's ribs in the slow cooker, whatever it is, and I don't have to spend very much time. Planning ahead. I always have like my waffles in the freezer, so all my kids have to do is take them out and toast them, and they can do it on their own, whether it be like frozen pizza quiche, whatever. Whenever we're hungry, we're always grabbing things. If I make something, I always make like a quadruple batch, and so dinner, lunches, whatever it is very easy. And don't be ashamed to ask for substitutions at restaurants. We just did it last night. We ate at, I forgot what it was called, that big barbecue place. It is delicious. But just don't be ashamed to make this your lifestyle and make it a passion. I also have a ton of information on mariamindbodyhealth.com. There's over 1,000 free recipes, tips and tricks and whatever, but you can check that out. I have a shopping guide of things. That's our pantry, that really is. Yes, we have a lot of collagen, but that's how we live. But I do have some books and services if you want to get more help. But again, we have free information, free recipes, and I'm actually giving away a free ebook with meal plans in it and everything, and that's the link to get that. But do I have any time for questions? I'm not sure. Sorry about the slides in the beginning, everybody. Brian? I don't know. Brian, do I have time for questions or am I done? I'm early. I only thought I had 15 minutes like last time. So I do have a lot of time. So bring it on if anybody has questions. I think you're supposed to step up to the microphone. Thank you for the clap.
So how do you figure out what your lean body mass is?
Well, the most effective way is to do underwater weighing. That's not usually a possibility. If you live by a college, they usually do it for a small fee, but You want to stay away from the bioelectrical impedance. That's where you stand on a scale and that will tell you your body fat percentage. That basically tells you if you're hydrated, an electrical current goes up and down. And most of the time people are dehydrated on a ketogenic diet. So the best way is to maybe go to a gym and they can test. But if you don't know, I have different body types. And you could say, I look like this person, I look like this person. And I'll help you figure out your lean body mass. So even by a picture, you can kind of guess what it is.
Okay. All right.
But most people totally underestimate what their lean mass is, or overestimate, I should say.
Yeah, I would think I would overestimate. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Hi.
So I've had this experience with what I now call fatty coffee instead of bulletproof coffee.
Okay.
Because I found that grass-fed butter and MCT really doesn't do anything to me. But if I have coconut oil, then I get kind of sustained energy, appetite suppression, coconut oil plus the butter, sometimes pastured egg yolks, and the improved mood. But whereas with the MCT, I don't feel nearly as many benefits. So I was wondering if you had any clients or yourself with any similar experiences and some of your favorite, fatty coffee variations?
Yeah, I guess I don't drink any caffeine. This energy is
Okay.
from caffeine. Caffeine will change your blood sugar. Ask any type 1 diabetic. It's going to. So cutting caffeine is huge when it comes to satiation and things like that. I do usually cut out dairy. Again, do not kill the messenger. I'm from Wisconsin, dairy state, capital of the world. But that maybe is why you feel better without the butter.
Without the MCT, but coconut oil instead.
Okay, so MCT oil can often cause, diarrhea and things like that. So I try to focus on real food rather than that type of stuff. It's just with the whole bulletproof coffee, it's easy to get 500 calories. You sit there with 500 calories of eggs, you're going to get full way faster than throwing down, a drink. So, that's just...
Sure.
But again, you probably aren't in it for weight loss. You look like a pretty healthy dude, right?
Well, so what's interesting, I had over 100-pound weight loss.
Awesome.
And I did, thanks. And so what I found is I think of added fats as a chess game.
Yeah.
So what I found is I had most of my fats during the weight loss from food.
Yes.
But if I use the added fats mindfully, for sure, when I'm consuming them, I'm not going to be burning body fat. But if at the end of the day, at the end of the week, it reduced my snacking or it reduced my overall calorie, it actually, I feel, increased my body fat burning. But
Totally.
it has to be mindful.
Right, it has to be mindful, and you reduce your calories. That's important, right?
Right, and I had nutrient-dense foods the rest of the way.
Yeah.
But I think butter, grass-fed butter and coconut oil are really complex natural foods, and if they work for people, they're not just fat. Plus, I think it was helping me get over my sad decades, and it was replacing the bad fat in my cells with good fat. So.
Using it for a transition is great. Totally, yeah.
So, anyhow.
Awesome.
Hi.
Hey.
I was just curious. I know your recipes are amazing. What your thoughts are for sugar substitutes like swerve or erythritol, or if you liked, you said go more natural, like maple syrup, or what's your take on sugar replacements?
So if you don't know, I grew up with PCOS, which is kind of like a diabetes that affects female fertility. If I would have maple syrup, that would just that would bring back the whole signs of PCOS. The androgens would go high. I can't do arsenic is natural. It's not good for you, right? So maple syrup, honey, all of that type of stuff is a no-no for me. My kids don't do any of that either. I really love stevia glycerite. It's a non-bitter form of stevia. It's almost like a thick honey. You need a little bit more than what a traditional stevia would be. For most people, swerve is just fine. I work with a lot of type 1 diabetics, and it doesn't bother them whatsoever. Some people don't like it. I just talked to someone, and it brings back their cravings for more sweets. So if you tend to really, really like desserts, and that's what you're going to overeat, it might be best to just like calm your sweet tooth and get rid of some of that type of stuff, you know?
Yes, I know.
But honestly, like, I grew up with like a bed night snack, and I love food, I love ice cream, and I feel like I'm cheating by having this. And for me, having a little like keto treat every day makes me not feel like this is a diet.
No, absolutely.
And it took me, you know, over a decade to lose, you know, almost 70 pounds. So it's not like it was an overnight process for me. But again, I allowed myself to have those treats, and I still do.
Yeah.
So it just depends on, you know, what your goals are.
Right, exactly. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Good question.
Hello.
Hello.
So you don't have one of those cheesehead things?
I do have some, yes.
Okay.
We are Packer fans.
Okay. So anyway, so you don't use dairy. We happen to use a lot of like heavy whipping cream for different dishes and sauces and things. What's your alternative if you don't use dairy?
Well, I'm not saying dairy's bad for everybody.
Okay.
I'm just saying that in the keto community, we poo-poo gluten. Like, there's no gluten this, no gluten that. But looking at it with a food allergy perspective, dairy is a more common allergen than gluten is. But we don't often want to, I mean, we're already limiting ourselves so much that giving up dairy, I've had people cry, right? You know, and so there are different, like, there's a great organic butter-flavored coconut oil that's good with heavy cream. It depends on what you're making, because everything has a different chemical compound.
Like
And-
almond butter you could use or to get the fat or something like that, or mix it with something else? Do you have
Well,
any
it
ideas?
depends on what flavor you're making. If you're making something sweet versus savory, there's different alternatives out there. Like cream cheese, there's like a Kite Hill cream cheese that's made with almond milk, so it's basically 0 carbohydrates. It's really actually quite delicious. And again, it's not that everybody needs to eliminate it, but if you're not seeing the results that you are looking for, or you notice that you have red bumps behind your arms, or eczema, or some sort of autoimmune disorder, Hashimoto's, Graves', you're probably going to want to cut that dairy out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I had a question about gut flora. How do you increase your gut flora with foods or supplements? And the second question I had is, which one to cook with, butter or ghee, right? Because I noticed that ever since I started with cooking with Kerrygo butter, it burns much quicker. So
Yeah.
is that?
So what to cook with? Animal fats are very stable. So lard, duck fat, beef tallow, you can buy those from whether it be Fat Works. They have probably 16 different types of animal fats, buffalo tallow, you name it. Our pantry is filled with that. Those animal fats are very heat stable. So I would suggest something like that instead. Okay? And then what was your first question?
Gut flora. What kind of foods will help increase my gut flora? Supplements too, or for that matter?
You know, if you did like a good like bifidobacteria or something like that, but then we always talk about you need a prebiotic to absorb the probiotic. You will get that from like collagen, connective tissue in meats, so like chicken wings or ribs or just like real foods that have enough fat in them to keep you satiated, that type of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Any supplements you would recommend for increasing gut flora too, or?
Yeah, if you are really low in gut flora, you could do like a good bifidobacteria. That's primarily found. There's different types of gut bacterias, but a bifidobacteria, even babies should be using that. They're getting that if the mother is eating healthy. But yeah, I would focus
How
on.
would I know if I'm deficient of gut flora? I mean, is there a lab test that you can do, or?
There are, but a lot of times if you have a lot of bouts of diarrhea or you've been on antibiotics, if you have a lot of sugar cravings, kids that really like buttered noodles or plain bland food, they're known to have very low good gut bacteria. But again, antibiotics would kill all of that. I mean, Craig has Lyme disease right now and he's taking a lot of antibiotics. We make sure to do a lot of probiotics with that. So sometimes you do need to supplement, especially if you've been on medication.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
I might cry.
Oh, aren't you? You're so cute.
This is a thank you. You've helped me lose 115 pounds. I feel like I've got my life back.
Come here. Thank you. You're a blessing.
Thank you. I started keto because my whole family are diabetics. My mom passed away at 59, my grandfather, a leg cut off. So this was a life-saving thing for me to do. And my friend Catherine, Under 20 Carbs, follow her everybody, sent me your dairy-free cookbook. That was my first cookbook, and I followed it, and it's just, like I say, it's been a godsend. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have peanut, tree nut, gluten, and soy allergies. And we're trying to go keto. Do you have any suggestions?
Yes, my books are yeah, usually I don't do any almond flours, that type of stuff. No gluten, no soy, none of that is in my book. So ta-da! You know,
Thank
like
you.
it's easy, right? You know, but just take one day at a time. You know, cutting those things out can be difficult, but you can do it. You can have dairy. That makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it.
How can we get natural probiotics for toddlers and adults?
Natural probiotics? Are you against doing like a supplemental?
I just haven't found a supplement that I could agree with, unless you have a recommendation.
There's actually a pure bifido powder that even like newborn babies, you just like, if you are breastfeeding, you would just put it on your breast tissue before breastfeeding, or put it on a bottle, a nipple for a bottle. But the bifido powder is something that, I mean, my kids have done it from the time they came into my life. I mean, being from a different country, they should have been sick all the time, you know, exposed to all of these new viruses and illnesses. They are honestly never sick. The first time one of my sons threw up, it was because a flight attendant gave Kai a Sprite on an airplane, and he threw up all over me, and my son Mike is like, something's wrong with Kai, because they just have never really experienced that. But a bifido powder, just a pure bifido powder, there's nothing else in it. It's hard to find, but you can find it you know, at health food stores, or ask them to bring it in for you. So it's the most expensive thing. Like if you buy a probiotic, you'll find some that are like $20, and then you'll see some that are $60.
Yes.
It's the $60 one.
Okay. Yeah. It's always the $60 one.
I know, but that's a different, like acidophilus, that's different. That's really helpful if you have acid reflux, that type of stuff, but that's in a different part of your colon than the bifidobacteria would be.
Okay, I have one more question.
Yeah.
How does collagen relate to hair loss?
Collagen? Well, so that's going to help with the hair follicles. Your hair follicles are made up of different amino acids. And the thing about collagen is it's not a complete amino acid profile, so you can't count that towards your protein goal. It doesn't count, but it's great for hair loss. I get people all the time that they had very thinning hair and they added a couple scoops of that. The trick is you want to find one that doesn't have any other additives in it. I hide it in my kids' water because I like the Further Foods brand. Woohoo! They're here somewhere. But it doesn't have any flavors, no additives, anything like that. So you could add it to water. You don't even know it's there.
The Further Foods brand?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
It's the problem is sometimes they add sugar or inulin or chocolate flavors and stuff, and it becomes more of a dessert. I just like the pure stuff.
Same here. Thank you.
Awesome.
Love the boots.
Thank you.